What if I told you there is a place left on this planet where people live, work, and play much as they did 1,000 years ago, far beyond the reach of the petty tyrants in D.C. and New York, far beyond the reach of the social media masters on the West Coast? There's a place, a land that time has seemed to have forgotten. The waters are pristine. The forests are filled and teeming with life. A place of never-ending beauty that is beyond the reach of those who now call themselves the kings of the world. Where there are cobblestone streets and flowers and beautiful houses that dot the landscape out in the mountains. Some have even said it's like you've jumped into a time machine and gone back to a time before capitalism ruined everything. Some have said to me, Florida Maquis, sometimes we think you're on the right side, but sometimes you sound a lot more like a socialist. Well, any ism that allows the world my father created to remain in its natural state of beauty, I'm on board for. And this exists. And it exists in a place that many people just would not imagine. The images that I'm showing you are from this place. It's farmland, it's mountain, it's beach, it's everything you could imagine. Almost completely unspoiled by the modern push for capitalism, for money to get rich. If capitalism had its way, you wouldn't be seeing any of this. You'd see a Chicago. You'd see a Los Angeles. You'd see a Minneapolis. You'd see a New York. You wouldn't see stretches of unspoiled beaches that you have to hike an hour to get to, and that's what you're looking at here. All this would be bought up. All this would be developed. And would be making somebody rich someplace very far away. Little towns like this would cease to exist. But because people have gotten smart and gotten tough, they have been able to push back. And even though they have modern conveniences, I'm sure a lot of you see right here, this air conditioner sticking out of the wall, they haven't let technology and advancement become some chain around their neck like North America has. They allow it in its proper place and in its proper context, while maintaining a proper Christian lifestyle. The place that I'm showing you is 84% white European and 95% Christian. You see, here, you don't have to be ashamed to be a white European like you do in North America, because that's what they want. You don't have to be ashamed to be a Christian here. In fact, if you weren't a Christian here, you would stick out like a sore thumb. And like I said, there are some modern advancements left in their place, not allowed to despoil what God has created. They've found the balance. And there are cities. There are cities, and they are green, and they are clean, and you can go there and you can avail yourself of virtually any modern convenience you want. But they haven't destroyed the world to do it, like North America has, like D.C. has, like New York has, like the West Coast has. It's the state of Santa Catarina in southern Brazil. It is one of the most majestically beautiful places on the planet. The combination of beaches and mountains and farms and pastures. See, this is what the capitalists don't want you to believe. can be the case, is that you either live in abject poverty or you do things their way. This is a map from the early 1900s. This is their flag for the state of Santa Catarina. This is their coat of arms. It is one of the most amazing places left on the planet. It's on the eastern coast of Brazil, halfway between Rio and Buenos Aires in Argentina. There's an island out here. They call it Floripa, which is basically just the word Florida, but instead of the letter D, you have the letter P. Its technical proper name is Florianopolis, but the name of the island is Santa Catarina. They haven't destroyed their natural world in the name of capitalism, and they've proved that you can have advancements and you can have convenience. They have cars. They have 8 million people living here. I believe in the state of Santa Catarina, they've got a couple million cars as well. Brazil's an interesting place because they have written into their law that if you produce something, no matter what it is, and they're not anti-business, if you produce something and there's a shortage of that thing somewhere in Brazil, you are required to fill that need first before you export internationally. And they encourage people to do it financially so that they can continue to fill their own needs first from their own sources. And this policy has allowed Brazil to be self-sufficient in oil and petroleum products, self-sufficient in food production, and in many other things. They are world leaders. Not only have they filled their own needs, they are one of the major exporters of so many things. And they've done this quietly. See, being anti-capitalist doesn't mean you're anti-freedom. It doesn't mean you're anti-business. You just don't worship it as a god, like we see in North America. Case in point, I've said before that DC has one thing in mind, and one thing in mind only, for Cuba and Venezuela, and that is financial exploitation. Period. This is why they bullied the people in Great Britain into stealing Venezuela's gold. And they had to stand up some make-believe president, a random guy named Juan, in order to keep this fantasy going. But a court in Great Britain has now said, wait a minute, this might be what the government wants to do, but this does not jive with the rule of law. And so that gold is in limbo right now. And those of you who think that it doesn't have anything to do with Cuba, John Bolton, 24 July. John Bolton says Cuba are propping up Maduro. Maybe he'll get the name right. See, this is the same game they played when they did the whole thing back in 17 and 18 with the make-believe insurrection that they created that failed. They're just doing this all over again. And it's seeming now that this court might actually award the gold back to the rightful leader of Venezuela trying to protect his country. But of course, you know what DC is going to do. DC is going to try to export freedom at the point of a gun, like they have the rest of us, right? Like they have the rest of us. And just to be clear, these pictures you're looking at here are from the interior of a bed and breakfast in Florianopolis. Stainless steel fridge, marble countertops, big screen TVs, modern conveniences, glass door showers, modern commodes. So you don't have to bend the knee to capitalist interests. You can maintain beauty. You can maintain the planet in the state God Almighty created it as a blessing to us. And you can work within guidelines. Work within rationality and common sense. The southern part of Brazil is God's country. It is literally the most beautiful place I have ever seen on the planet. The air is clean. The air is fresh. There's not trash everywhere. You don't see plastic bags blowing everywhere, or cans or labels or trash. You don't see it. And there are places that you wouldn't know whether it was now or 2000 BC. Truly, it is that beautiful. And they've proven how you can do it when you don't get caught up in the games. That the tyrants on the West Coast, the tyrants in DC and New York and Chicago and LA, the social media masters, they want you to believe it can be done. You can have a brick house with an air conditioner and not destroy the environment. You can have your own garden and you can be self-sufficient and you can eat what you grow. And you can also go to the store for certain things. And you can be who you were born to be as God intended and not be shamed for it. Imagine that being a controversial statement even 2 years ago, 5 years ago. It's a magical place. It's less than 2,000 miles away from Antarctica, by the way. I'm sure that would blow a lot of people's minds. Less than 2,000 miles away from Antarctica. Kind of completely disagrees with her whole wind, ice, rock, and snow story, doesn't it? How can this be? The city that you're looking at right here is closer to Antarctica than Florida is to Washington State. Let that sink in. The city you're looking at right here, all of these images that I've shown you, all of these beautiful places, less than 2,000 miles away from Antarctica, closer to Antarctica than Florida is to Washington State. And I guess I will leave that there. Have a blessed weekend. Like, share, subscribe. We will see you guys tonight on Twitch.